Other than that, I can't see, because so many things have been tried and unsuccessful.
Nicolás Maduro is facing the largest wave of protests against
Trinidad and Tobago. Numbers of Venezuelans are already here.
de la patria, de la independencia.
This is my view, and with that, I can't see at this point in time to think of any other way of dealing with that problem.
¡Y del derecho que tiene el pueblo!
By the way, I'm not going to rule out a military option. We have many options for Venezuela. This is our neighbor.
The point of the exercise was to show you that in life you are always on audition. Whether you like it or not.
Venezuela is sitting on the world's largest proven oil reserve.
Trinidad and Tobago for a one-day visit.
Always be aware of how you represent yourself.
Many students celebrated in several ways. In Parliament, says the Minister of Education speaking at a media.
This is not stepping stone. So when you go in that interview, you take that.
Venezuela started
the GDP per capita of your
Throughout the 20th century, oil-based economies such as Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela used revenues from the energy sector to increase health, education, and the standard of living for their people and to aid neighbors affected by natural disasters and economic hardship. By the year 2010, such economies ranked among the highest in the world for GDP growth and among the lowest for unemployment. As the saying goes, however, laugh and cry live in the same house.
I see recession as an opportunity. I do not necessarily see it as all fall down, and so as a matter of fact, from a political perspective, I felt that the call for recession immediately triggers a response. You don't necessarily make a call for a recession and place the stigma of recession on society higgledy-piggledy, so that whenever you make the call, which is why from a political perspective I had stated that perhaps it was not the right time to make the call of a recession.
We have had a substantial erosion of the level of economic activity, and as economic activity falls, there is a tendency for unemployment to rise. Because the unemployment rate today is about 3.1% and has been below 10%, and for the last few years has been below 5%, it means that basically the economy is at full unemployment.
In the last quarter of 2014, the global price of oil crashed.
Next, we turn to the crisis in Venezuela and beyond. Political turmoil, the country in economic freefall.
The price went from US $108 per barrel to $30 in just 18 months. Job losses soon began to multiply.
At the present point in time, with the economy is in a recession. People try to avoid that road, but being blunt, the economy is in a recession. And in fact, it is in a state of secular stagnation since our economic activity, as we speak in 2016, is back to the level of economic activity it was in 2007.
While the government comes to terms with the drop in revenue, the ordinary citizen begins to see what an oil-fueled recession can do.
It's deteriorating dramatically. Food and medicine are scarce. More than 4 in 10 Venezuelans want to leave their country permanently. It is now more difficult for Venezuelans to escape their home country. Colombia has tightened migration and border controls.
The 2016 budget is being presented at a time of great uncertainty in the global economy. While economic growth is expected to be satisfactory in the United States and the United Kingdom at around 2 to 2.5% of GDP in both 2015 and 2016, there are concerns about some of the other major economies. China's economy has continued to slow to about 6.4% in 2015, compared to an average rate of over 10% for more than a decade. In addition, growth in the European Union has been less than 2%, notwithstanding low oil prices and a series of economic stimulus measures. The deceleration of China's economy is having a major impact on emerging and developing economies, especially raw material producers. Given their extensive trade links with China, many Latin American countries have been hit very hard. Brazil, which has benefited the most from trade links with China, now finds itself in a severe recession. We in Trinidad and Tobago must therefore be ever mindful of developments in the rest of the world and prepare ourselves accordingly. And now turn to the state of the local economy.
The recession made 2016 a very trying year for the Trinidad and Tobago economy. The Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean actually projected a 4.5% decline in the Trinidad and Tobago economy. Forex rules spread from US to euros, pounds, and yen, and affected manufacturing and import.
The good news is that we have about $5.7 billion in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund US. The bad news is this is only about 13% of the resources that remain on the economic windfall, and therefore we showed a high propensity to consume rather than to invest.
In early 2014, oil was near $100 per barrel, and as a result, Trinidad and Tobago's forex reserves stood at an estimated high of $11 billion.
The dollar exchange rate is very stable. I do not see any issues going forward that would cause the exchange rate to slip. So from a perspective of protecting oneself, hedging against movements in the exchange rate, I don't anticipate anyone needing to do that, certainly in the short term. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen in 10 years' time.
TNT's net official foreign reserves have hit a 10-year low, according to the central bank.
The Bank Trinidad and Tobago has announced a reduction in the amount of foreign currency its customers will be allowed to access via its international Visa debit card. Customers will be limited to only $500.
Forex depletion was primarily due to uncompetitive oil-based commodities and Trinidad and Tobago's inability to have a suitable export replacement with high income generation.
But we have to learn from some of the policy decisions that Venezuela took that will not work in our economy, didn't work in Venezuela tax and so on. Things like controls, trying to regulate the market, those things are very problematic because then you create black markets, whether it is in foreign exchange or in that market of goods and so on, the price control. So you can't go that route.
Whenever an economy is faced with some measure of contraction, it is an opportunity to inject a measure of creation. So that what we need to do with the contracting economy is to inject capital into other creative ways in which we can diversify the economy. Ever since I was about 3 years old, I've been hearing about diversifying the Trinidad and Tobago economy away from an oil and gas sector. What have we done to do that? What are we doing to ensure that?
Today, the Trinidad and Tobago economy is in a dilemma. Crude oil production is just about 29 million barrels of oil per annum, and natural gas production has also fallen. It is well known in industry circles that is about 20% below where it should be, and natural gas price has also fallen. So the economy has taken a tremendous hit. As a consequence, the finance minister found it necessary to announce that he would use some amount, I think the number now is $200 million from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund for deployment in the economy. And I say this is the purpose of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. The purpose of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund is to help the economy at times when there is a shortfall in public expenditures in relation to public revenues. The challenge, however, is whether or not these public expenditures will be used for the run-of-the-mill activity or for supply-side measures to strengthen economic output, or whether or not it would be used to fuel consumption.
As creative as the Trinidad and Tobago economy has been with the revenues from the energy sector, consumption remains high, and this is evident in the spending of successive governments.
As far as I see, Trinidad not really in no pressure. Because when you see the overall selling out, and you see people dancing on TV and man throwing beer on himself, that tells me a lot of things.
Given what has happened to us as a country, we are currently living well above our means. And to do that means we have to borrow to pay our bills and to maintain what we have. This is what this government has been grappling with, to roll that back to a manageable situation while not worsening the situation as it exists.
When the system started, we should have put things in place. We should have put things in place. But now, I think by 2018, oil price will drop and we'll go into recession. But let it fulfill our spending. Spend for what we need.
They had oil revenue in the order of 15 billion, 16 billion, 17 billion per year. Look at what we face in the first year, fiscal 2016. It went from 17 billion to 1.03 billion dollars. You understand the kind of issue we found ourselves in?
Prime Minister Dr. Rowley today received a promise of standard support from the Persevering Board of detailing the progress made in the months since its appointment.
Politics is removed from Petrotrin. Petrotrin will never survive. And that is the result. With the consequent expansion in fiscal imbalances, the government of Trinidad and Tobago now faces the twin task of fiscal consolidation and returning the economy to a faster growth path.
With forex declining rapidly, however, and oil prices at an all-time low, the IMF delivered a simple message to Trinidad and Tobago: deal with it or else we will. At the end of 2016, tough decisions had to be made.
We are constrained in time by your bond payments. If we don't come up with a solution to our bond payments within a matter of weeks, we are going to run into serious difficulties as a company, and it is going to impact on your sovereign ratings.
The Trinidad and Tobago economy was stabilized by cutting expenditure that was no longer sustainable at US $30 per barrel. Timely use of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, selling key assets, redistributing low revenues to essential services, and eliminating waste. If it were not for these measures by the government, Trinidad and Tobago would be in the hands of the IMF today. The Heritage and Stabilization Fund is a sovereign wealth fund established in 2007 by the then Patrick Manning regime. Its predecessor was the Interim Revenue Stabilization Fund, established in 2000 under the Baste Pandey regime.
The Heritage and Stabilization Fund represents a place where we can put some of the savings from the petroleum sector for longer term use. One of these longer term use occurs when public expenditures fall below public revenues for reasons because of misestimation in the price and or production of crude oil and or natural gas.
When the United States is now increasing their oil production capacity, we see the countries and the economies in the Middle East also fearing from the same type of oil and gas dominance. So that what are we doing as a small island state that is heavily dependent on an oil and gas economy, away from talking about it? We've heard about measures being put in place in tourism. Is our tourism industry really robust and competitive?
While TNT has seen some downstream expansion in the energy sector, to date, no government has been able to achieve significant diversification outside the energy sector. In 2017, however, the government began notable efforts toward diversification with its plans for a mass dry dock project. This project seeks to make use of the Trinidad and Tobago strategic maritime position as a channel between South America, the Caribbean, and the Pacific.
What is adding fire to fury is that when they look around and see things that are happening, so it's a difficult situation. Yeah, it's a difficult problem to solve. It encompasses everybody. It had to be an effort of the whole of Trinidad and Tobago if they really want to solve that problem.
On Monday, the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro will arrive in Trinidad and Tobago for a one-day state visit. But as anyone walking through the streets can tell, a number of Venezuelans are already here. In Cedros, where the people are closer to Venezuela than they are in Port of Spain, 4 boats go back.
The Caribbean community has always responded with resilience in the face of adversity. For decades, development across the Caribbean has competed with severe storms and violent earthquakes. In 2016, CARICOM began putting things in place to deal with a new challenge developing a few miles off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago.
CARICOM is an important part in the world economy right now.
The statement makes the point that there has to be a settlement on the basis of the established principles of the United Nations Charter. Non-intervention, non-interference, questions relating to the rule of law.
CARICOM nations are meeting in St. Kitts and Nevis for a 2-day summit to discuss the unfolding political situation in Venezuela, in Haiti and Guyana. The so-called Montevideo mechanism that seeks to facilitate a peaceful resolution in Venezuela will be high on the agenda.
Meanwhile, 756 kilometers off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago, our neighbor faced similar challenges.
The workers of iniquity dig a pit for me. Now they wear a team for me to fall in. Trying to take my bread and butter with lies and propaganda, but they're fooling. They're only fooling.
Venezuela may be a peculiar case. What happened in the Venezuelan economy's case is that they placed an extremely high degree of dependence on the energy sector. And as a consequence, when oil prices fell, that economy, as we know, took a terrible hit, and today is perhaps at the border of social unrest.
He shall be first.
passing of President Chavez in March 2013, Venezuelans were optimistic that his successor, President Maduro, would have similar success. It seems, however, that President Chavez's passing also took with it the conditions under which he governed.
Something from nothing. Now it reached maturity and gained popularity. Some of them claiming is their own thing, but a short truth always prevails finally. So the death of lies and deceit is a certainty. You see,
within months, unemployment and inflation skyrocketed, and the cost of a basket of basic food items was 15 times the minimum wage.
In Venezuela and across the Western Hemisphere, socialism is dying, and liberty, prosperity, and democracy are being reborn.
What goes on in Venezuela directly affects us. We are a very small nation.
With food prices and crime levels rising, many Venezuelans see President Maduro's efforts as a case of too little, too late.
El miércoles llega 500 toneladas de ayuda y asistencia humanitaria de Rusia legalmente llegan por el aeropuerto de Maiquetía convertidas en medicina.
Upon his arrival in the capital of Trinidad and Tobago, he was met by scores of angry Venezuelan protesters.
On Monday, the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro will arrive in Trinidad and Tobago for a one-day state visit. But as anyone walking through the streets can tell, a number of Venezuelans are already here.
The world witnesses other countries pledging military support if crisis breaks out in war.
This was once one of the wealthiest countries in the world. People are starving, they have no food, they have no water.
Tremendous upheaval. A monitoring group says at least 26 people have been killed in nationwide protests.
At least a dozen people were killed in anti-government protests yesterday.
En la cabeza y literalmente fue golpeado por un mango. En la ciudad de Maracay, rodeado de cientos de seguidores.
Allí. Mientras tanto les muestro, me llegó otro mango maduro, aquí está. Ya anotaron el teléfono, aquí dice, mire, el mango maduro dice, Nico, Nico, me trata con confianza. Vamos a llamarla pues, toma, a la 1, vamos a ver, Príncipe del Llano, a la 1, a las 2, a las 3, llámate a Mercedes de una vez, vamos.
Back in 2015, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago had official talks.
negotiate something with the oil thing, negotiate something. But right now we're under pressure here with the economy. So let me do something with the trade business.
The agreement consisted of two main parts. The first part was a joint venture in the area of energy.
The parties agree to take reasonable steps to facilitate A, the development, construction, operation, and maintenance of one or more pipelines from the Marisal Sucre region in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, including a pipeline from the Dragon Field to the Hibiscus platform.
The second part of the agreement was to create a trade in manufactured goods to assist Venezuelans' intermittent food shortages.
We look forward from Trinidad and Tobago to provide some significant relief to the people of Venezuela. This relief to come from a supply of manufactured goods from Trinidad and Tobago.
What we're going to do is engage in trade with Venezuela, where our manufactured products could be sold to Venezuela, and our manufacturers want that because that will enable them to produce more in Trinidad and Tobago, employ more people. So it will benefit our economy, generate more jobs, generate additional tax revenue for the government. And in return for that, Petrotrin could get crude oil from Venezuela, which means that Petrotrin wouldn't have to put out scarce US dollars to acquire crude oil, and so on. So it's beneficial to Trinidad and Tobago to engage in trade with Venezuela. Barter trade is also beneficial for us to get gas from Venezuela because we have a shortage of natural gas.
The reason for the discontent is simple. Things have been really tough in Venezuela. While the supplies from Trinidad and Tobago are welcome, they are but a drop in the bucket for a population of 34 million people.
I am for a civil war, and I hope the government in Trinidad and Tobago be prepared because whatever going on in Venezuela is going to affect us.
After several years of contraction, Trinidad and Tobago's economy is poised for a moderate and energy-based recovery.
This was directed by the government to attend Saturday's video conference, where CARICOM foreign ministers spoke with Venezuela's self-declared leader, Juan Guaido. Dr. Rowley says CARICOM's position of neutrality has allowed it.
The effects of the recession still linger as another financial quarter passes. It is common knowledge that the best time for economic diversification is during economic stability.
Whenever there is a recessionary period, one of the things you want to do is to encourage persons to be able to spend more so that they kind of, put some money back into the system so that you're not really dealt a blow. So politics aside,